Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women Talk Construction, where we're all about hyping up the women and men who are building our world and telling the real stories behind the work. And we have a fantastic guest on with us today doing just that.
Thank you.
Um, I'm Angela, your co host, and I'm with my co host, Christy Powell. How are you doing today, Christy?
I'm super stoked about what we're going to talk about today. Today's
Yes.
going to be all about the heart and soul of construction, and that's the people who are working in the field. I'm ready to soak up some epic stories from our guest because he's been doing it in the
Oh,
field,
yes, he has.
really making sure that we find out what the heart and soul of construction is, and we appreciate him. So, yeah,
Yeah,
glad
yeah.
to be here.
Yeah, we are thrilled to have Allah on with us today. He is a powerhouse behind the brand Build the Hard Hat. And I don't know if most of our guests I'm sure have seen him on all the social channels and YouTube. And if you haven't, you need to go check it out. Allah's a construction influencer, a 2024 40 under 40 winner, and a senior implementation consultant who spent nearly a decade in the field. Wow. Now he is sharing the human side of construction through his storytelling platform. And he's getting all of these awesome construction folks in the skilled trades to share their stories. And that's awesome. So, Allah, welcome to Women Talk Construction.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and I'm truly humbled to be here because you guys are fellow storytellers in the space as well, and I love your content. So excited to
Thank
be here.
you.
Thank
Aw.
you.
We are fellow
We
storytellers,
are
right?
fellows.
Yes.
Yes, I love it.
I love that title just of how we are. So, I'll give a little bit more about yourself and what you do, and then we're gonna dive into the questions right after that. So, just a little blip for our audience.
Yeah, so long story short, I spent nearly a decade in construction, boots on the ground, working with field workers on multi-million dollar projects. Noticed the gap of no one's sharing the stories of the people who are building those projects and making them come to life. And that's where I started behind the hard hat outside of my field job to shed light on the people who are building the roads, building the buildings, and making sure that our infrastructure is up to speed and good for the people.
Well, we need people. So, what you're
Absolutely.
doing is like
We need a
amazing.
million, like,
Yes.
overnight right now,
Yeah,
I think is the last stat I saw. So, let's get into it.
yeah.
You spent almost 10 years in the field. I got to spend 26, so I can
Well,
relate. Little different, but, I was still out in the field all the time on job sites, and I got to get muddy, and I love being muddy, by the way. Um, and then you started behind the hard hat to share the stories you heard in the trailers. And, heard a few of those myself, and some of
nice.
them were super cool. Just saying.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But what made you decide to shine, and I learned a lot too in those trailers. What made you decide to shine a spotlight on the people behind the work, and what's the one story that stuck with you that inspired you to start?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, so the inspiration of the start came from one day I was walking down the street, finished my day job, again, boots on the ground out of the trailer, and I saw a 55-year-old Terry, who was a carpenter, and he was building a building. And I thought, hey, like it would be pretty cool. You have a lot of experience building this. We just had a chat on the street, and he said he's been doing this for over 25 years, so similar to you, Christy.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, it would be pretty cool to share your story and share some of the inspiration, what you think about, women in construction. What do you think about where we're heading? What do you
I
think?
liked his comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of us do.
Yeah. About different topics that I'm interested in, and I thought a lot of people would be interested in. But again,
Mhm.
no one puts a mic on those people. So I was like, what do you think about that? We ended up talking for 45 minutes. He was really against social media, was able to convince him. And then next day I showed up on a Sunday. He was like, hey, I'm working on a Sunday. You want to join in? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's where the first episode started. Terry was by far the most viewed person. People loved him a lot. And the inspiration for me from Terry was when he spoke about how women in construction, like if you're on a job site, you earned it, you deserve to be there. It's not easy.
Yeah.
He spoke about his daughter and how how intelligent she is. So he was a very advocate towards women, and that was an inspiration to me.
Nice.
Mm,
Yeah,
I mean,
that
how much better can it be than that, right? Is just
yeah,
finding out from the people that have been doing it for years, what do they think? How do they feel about their job? They take a lot of pride.
yes.
Most people in the industry are very prideful of the work that they've been able to perform and the progress they've been able to make. We build America, right?
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And you see a lot of I built that when you're driving with it's your dad or your uncle who's been in construction. But again, there is no like somewhere where you can go and watch what did
Yeah.
he build, right? How did he do it? And that's where
Yeah.
the inspiration also came about. It's like, hey, just a quick 15-second, 20-second video on YouTube is not gonna hurt. I know it's difficult at the beginning, but then once you see how people react to it and people are like, oh,
Yeah.
that's sick. That's the person who built this house. Then they become more like, okay, it's not too bad. I'll put my face on
Yeah.
a camera.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
like it at first either, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It
need was there though, and that's more important than our own, self-reflection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really does matter, and, I mean, I grew up in it, so I know the impact of visibility, right? Because 'Cause you're
yeah,
just
Mhm.
more aware of it, and you understand these people are caring, they're doing such great work. Because my granddad was a plumber, my dad an architect, so but let's dive
nice.
into more of these stories because we love watching your stories.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and hearing what those wonderful messages. So, you pivoted to construction tech with Ingenious Build, which is in the dirt world, which
Yeah.
we love as well, helping make the industry better. What's the biggest way you see technology changing construction right now, and how's that work making a dent in that? How is your work making a dent?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know Christy touched on it on the beginning of the podcast, saying, we have a shortage in the
Yeah.
trades. Not a lot of people want to be in the trades. I think some of it is from there's a lack of technology adoption in construction. It's very slow, it's very old. People are not too tech savvy. And that's not their problem, that's our problem on the technology side. How can we make tech easier for them to use? And that's what we're doing at Ingenious Build. We are creating software for people in construction that will make their life easier. Hey, instead of you typing in or handwriting a daily report of what's been on site for an hour or two, we can cut that in like 15 minutes and give you more time back so you can stay with your family, so you can have more of a work-life balance and be happier in the trades. And that's the message that we're trying to send to people who are not too tech savvy. We can give you time back. We can give you work-life balance. I know
Yeah.
construction is a lot of work, but that's something that we want you to experience through technology.
Make construction efficient, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, tech and construction is such a powerful combination. Like,
Mhm.
just watching some of the innovation that's happening right now because tech is involved has been super exciting for me. Because when I was in the field, tech wasn't a big thing,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
everybody did
Yeah.
everything by hand. And I was always thinking, there's got to be a more efficient way to do this and this and this and this. And now there is. So the
Yes.
the toughest part what's been the toughest part of navigating the construction world for you? And how do you keep pushing forward to make a space for you and others? Obviously, you're pushing forward with the YouTube, but personally and professionally, what are you thinking about that in the toughest part of navigating our industry,
Mm.
that's just helping you push forward and make a space for you and others that are in the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, the toughest part has been, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, is making the workers comfortable around a camera or a
Mm.
person who's holding a camera.
Yeah.
And I think that's really tough because the first assumption I think to the worker's mind is like, hey, this guy has never been dirty or like his boots are clean. He
Right.
probably comes
Yeah.
from an office job, or maybe
Yeah,
he's just
that's a
doing
good point.
social media on the side. He really doesn't understand what I do every day. He doesn't understand the effort and the work that goes into it, and I don't think I have time to give him a space or energy. right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where when I show up to construction sites, and that's just like a piece of advice that I typically give for fellow construction storytellers like you and everyone on LinkedIn, because I see a lot of them now, is showing up maybe with a vest and a hard hat, and maybe your boots should be a little bit dirty, not too clean.
Yeah.
Maybe that can help
That's a
the
good point.
the first impression, because the first impression is very important. And then maybe they can see like, oh, this person looks like me, done it,
Yeah.
and then I can open up to him easier, and that makes the story more credible and more raw, rather than maybe showing up like with a t-shirt and some sweatpants and on the side of the curb and be like, hey, I would love to have you
Yeah.
on camera.
Yeah, that's
Good
important.
point. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. You need to meet people where they're at,
yeah,
Ye
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I
mentally
mean.
and physically.
exactly.
Yes,
So we
yeah.
can relate. Yeah, relatability. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We like to be, in circles or in groups of where people look like us, maybe think like us. I'm not saying that's
Mhm.
100% right. I think we should all think
No,
out
I
of the
think we
box
should
and
open
stuff.
it up. Yeah.
We should open it up, but again, it's something that makes it a little bit easier
Yes.
to get the
Yeah,
ball.
you're exactly right, Ala, because we see that on our front with the Women Talk Construction platform when we interview on the podcast or do our, job site interviews, but also I see it whenever I'm doing my role in whatever company, and I'm going to the job site. I don't want to show up and I want to look like them. And my
Yeah.
Yeah.
boots are dirty. And I've even been known to help them move like some bags of cement and stuff just to like be a part of,
Yeah.
Yes.
And they
you know
appreciate that. They
Yeah,
appreciate that a lot.
yeah,
They
and
don't expect it, and typically they don't want you to if you're a woman,
Yes.
but they still appreciate it.
Yes.
well, it just shows that I don't know, it's hard to get the stories, but if you go
Mhm.
about it the right way, you'll get the most impactful story of your life
Yeah.
for, the
Yes.
audience, and what you said is exactly true. You gotta show up how they are, not in dress pants and,
Yeah.
all that, so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to the next. You're giving our audience so much wisdom, wisdom, wisdom.
Okay.
Behind the hard hat is all about humanizing construction,
Yes.
and you're killing it as that storyteller. What is the
Thank
impact you've seen from sharing these stories and how they change the way people inside and outside the industry see construction? Because that's important. It's not.
you. Yeah.
It's the outside, but it's the inside
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
leadership. It's
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's a great point. There's a lot of stories that come to mind. One that struck out was a gentleman that I shared on my channel. He was doing labor work, and then he went, about his day after the video was shot. I did share it on Instagram, and I think a month later, one of the LinkedIn field workers, boots on the ground, similar to my role at a big firm, he reached out on LinkedIn. He's like, "Hey, it's pretty cool that you shared this guy's story because we were on site on X site. I can't say the name of the site in Canada, and the guy was so pumped. He's like, "Hey, I've been on this channel. You guys should check it out." And the guy was like, "Yeah, I know this guy from LinkedIn." And it was like, it's pretty cool to see the impact there, that he was really happy to see his video on Instagram and being shared with his coworkers internally on this particular project. So this is one of the impact. The other one is just like you guys were saying, just changing the perception, particular topics. Women in construction is a hot one that I really like to speak to tradesmen about, rather than speaking to leadership or people who are in suits. Hearing what people in the trades, boots on the ground, have to say about it,
We
and then
love that. Thank
yeah,
you.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep
thank you.
doing
We
it.
do.
Yeah, and that's
And
part
we
of the
wouldn't be here without you, right? Like we can't
yeah,
I didn't get where I'm at today because a whole bunch of women lifted me up, right? I
yeah.
got here today because there were a bunch of men that supported me in my role and didn't make me feel like I didn't belong there.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right, and I think your platform is solving for that, right? That it's literally called Women in Construction,
We're trying.
Women Talk Construction, and I think we need more people like you guys, and it shows how important the mission is. I've seen some of your content on YouTube, such as the firefighter. I know Christy, you said you used to be a firefighter too, so
Yeah.
just sharing those stories really has a huge impact. We
Mhm.
might not know, right? Like I just know this one person on a site. I'm sure there's
Right.
Instagram messages that I can't remember, but I'm
Yeah.
sure there is an impact. We just don't know because the world is huge. You never know who's
Yes.
watching you.
Yeah. Well, it's impacting everything we do impacts a lot of people nowadays, right? Because it's
Yeah,
everywhere,
Yes.
especially those of us who are trying to make an impact on our industry. You
yeah,
you have no idea who could have impacted. I would
yeah,
have loved being in the field and being able to stick Women Talk Construction podcast in my ear and listen to women talk about their successes, their stories, where they're at today, where they were, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't have felt so alone. And that
yeah,
was one
Mhm.
of my big drivers of starting Women Talk Construction. I would have loved to had this resource when I was in the field and feeling lonely and sad a lot of times because I didn't have people to talk to that understood where I was coming from. So
yeah,
thank you for that. I'm
yeah.
obsessed with all of this and what you do every day.
Thanks, man.
And I really, I don't know if you know about our future, but we have a future of doing something similar, interviewing women on job sites. And we have done
Ooh,
one, the
nice.
firefighter, right? And we hope to
Yes,
have a second one pretty soon. We're hoping to do at least
awesome,
3 this year. It's a
awesome.
lot, right? Making
Yeah,
videos is a lot. So maybe you can give us some pointers on how to make it easier
Yes.
so that we
yeah,
don't get so overwhelmed. But
yeah,
you're a 2024 40 and under uh, winner, which is
yeah.
amazing. It's huge. You're out there inspiring the next generation. What would be your best advice for young people, especially women who want to jump into the construction industry, whether it's actually doing a trade or building tech solutions? What would be your best advice, not just to women, but I think everybody in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah,
But we do get a lot of women ask us, I've been in this career for this many years. If I wanted to switch to construction, how do I start? So where would be your best advice? What would be your best advice?
yeah, that's a great question. I think, in my opinion, there's twofold to this. One is finding someone older than me who's done it for a longer period of time. Can be
Absolutely.
25 years, 26 years mentorship. I know we're lacking on the mentorship side as an industry, but I do see, again, a lot of people on social media now in construction. We can call it construction influencers, we can call it,
Yeah.
whatever title it is, but you guys, me, I know there's Aaron Witt, he has a training program that he does. There's Angelo, I know you guys had him on your podcast in the past. A lot of people are trying to do mentorship programs, maybe connecting with those influencers and seeing, hey, do you know someone who's done carpentry for 25 years? Do you know a plumber who's done X for 20 years? And then
Excellent advice.
yeah, and then being able or willing to soak up as much as I can and I learn from them without, having an attitude or being on my phone during working hours to social media because we see a lot of young people do that sometimes. And
Yeah.
then the old folks are like, hey, I didn't used to do this, and then there's this
Yeah.
butting heads. We don't want that. So just
Yeah.
being willing
That's
to
a really
learn.
good point.
Yeah, being
Yeah,
willing to
yeah.
learn and knowing that the older people, they have their ways. Let's try to meet in the middle so we can butt heads less and learn the most from one another for the better of the industry. That's what I would say.
The communication gap is
Huge.
it's huge, but it's easy to conquer just by
Mhm.
Yes.
having a question, just by asking
Yeah.
questions and listening.
Yes.
Right? Like, I was
Yeah.
super intimidated. I hired somebody really, really young, and, I was like, "I don't even know if I'm gonna know how to talk to her," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it was so easy. All I had to do was
Mhm.
ask questions and listen.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like, I made it so overwhelming in my head, but it wasn't it
Yeah.
wasn't that overwhelming. And once
Yeah.
you start realizing once everybody realizes where you're coming from, the communication gap narrows to nothing.
Yes.
Right? Because you can always relate to each other if you know where each other's come from or coming from or why things matter to them. So
100%.
that's
And
huge.
if we think about it from what we do, you and myself, is social media is all about have to watch and listen to the video to the end, and then
Right.
you have to comment, meaning communicate and engage, and
Yes,
then you might get views. That's how the algorithm works. You need
Yes.
views, listening and viewing, and then commenting. So it's just a basic
it is.
thing, but then a lot of people miss it. But Yeah, I agree
They
with
miss
you
all
there.
3 steps, don't they?
Yeah.
We're still
Hit
trying to
that
figure that out.
subscribe button.
And like and
Great.
comment.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah,
So all of you that are listening, you need to get on both Ala and our YouTube channels and social medias, and please like and comment, because we do want to make a difference, and we can't without your
yes.
likes, your
Yeah.
subscriptions, your comments on our
Sponsorships
platforms.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sponsors help
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As long as the sponsor does align with the mission of
Exactly.
what you are
Yeah,
doing, and I can't see someone who wouldn't align with your mission, because again, it's a beautiful mission in a much needed time, I would say. So
yeah. You too, Ala. You
yeah.
too.
Yes.
So you, I'm ready to put my hard hat back on and start telling more stories. So you are doing amazing things, and I'm so here for everything you're doing. And Angela and I want to be here for you if you need anything
Yes.
at all.
Ever.
So
Thank you.
as we
Yeah.
close up, let's get you to tell everybody about your just about your channel, where to go, how to connect with you. If they want to tell their story, maybe they reach out to you and tell you,
Oh,
I have a
yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So tell our audience, how do they get a hold of you? Because we would love to see you be successful just from being able to be on our podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's as simple as typing behind the hard hat on Google or Instagram or YouTube, any social media that you use, you'll find me there. Feel free to DM me and we'll be in touch.
That was super easy.
That
So
Yeah.
you're
was.
making construction human, and we appreciate that. And it's very, very powerful. Keep telling stories. Thank you all for listening to Women Talk Construction today. Keep building, keep sharing stories, and keep it real. Thanks for
Thank
joining us today.
thank you so much. It was a pleasure.